In today's video we review Mongolian Airlines 787 in economy class. We explore some of the fascinating parts of Mongolia, including driving to the Gobi Desert. We encounter the local inhabitants and spend a few wonderful nights in nomadic camps, staying in gurs, and enjoy wonderful morning walks and spectacular sunrises, and test the local cuisine. Come and join us on a tour of Mongolia.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4.
So hello from Seoul's Incheon airport. Tonight we're flying off to Mongolia, and it should be quite an interesting adventure. Now, to be honest, when I booked this flight, when I raised it a wee while ago, I said to Monique, look, I've come up with a really good way to get from Seoul, Korea to Frankfurt cheaply in business class, but we have a one-night layover in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
Which I said, no, not one night.
That's right. She said exactly that, and she used the finger. And 38 years of marriage, when she uses the finger, it's not a suggestion, it's a subtle, you will change your mind and comply with my instructions. So that's what I've done. Anyway, so we're actually flying to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and we're going into the Gobi Desert. And then we're going to fly back to Seoul before we fly on to Europe. But don't worry, we'll cover both the Mongolian Airlines flight and Asiana and Turkish Airlines on our way to Europe.
And we'll give you a glimpse of our couple of days in Mongolia. Really looking forward to it. It's been an interesting experience trying to find tours for the 4 days that we have in Mongolia. It was a bit of a mission. We're kind of hoping that everything's going to go all right. We found a tour group. They were very blasé and laissez-faire about when to pay and other kind of information like that. But the last few days they've been great at communicating. They're going to meet us at the airport, put us up into a dormitory because we arrive at 2:30 and the tour starts at 10. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm so looking forward to it. It
is, and we're going to the Gobi Desert, aren't we? So
yes.
It's a real attempt to get into the middle of Mongolia.
Yes, yeah, the flaming cliffs, camels, wild horses, living in a gur.
And Monique's really looking forward to the vegetarian food options.
It's very meat heavy, but we'll show you all about it and share our experiences with you. We're here in Seoul actually because we've caught up with our daughter Emily, who flew in from Canada. She's done a review of Air Canada Premium Economy.
Yeah, she's going to be our first guest.
Our guest. And she's
presenter.
She's also been doing stuff on Seoul. So stay tuned for her videos that will hopefully be up fairly soon. And in the meantime,
sit back and relax as we show you a little bit of Mongolian Airlines on their 787 through to Ulaanbaatar and a bit of Mongolia.
Indeed. We'll see you soon.
The check-in for the flight was very straightforward. The flight departed just after midnight, so Incheon, Seoul's international airport, was relatively quiet. The flight, in fact, there were two flights. They had within an hour of each other, and on some days they actually operate 3 flights Seoul Ulaanbaatar, mostly supported by South Korean passengers. Before we knew it, we had begun the boarding process. Now, Mongolian Airlines, commonly known as MEAT, was established in 1956. It now has an all-Western fleet of just 9 aircraft, 3 737-800s, 1 737 MAX, 1 767-300, 2 787-900s, and 2 CRJs. Now they fly from the hub of Ulaanbaatar to Frankfurt and Istanbul in Europe, and within Asia they service Busan and Seoul Korea, Bangkok, and seasonally Phuket in Thailand, and to China, Beijing and Guangzhou. The call sign is Mongol Air. Now, my first impressions on boarding the aeroplane was very positive. A lovely cabin, typical configuration, 333. I quite like the layout. Now, the seats are quite comfortable. Good size IFE screens, although that's a little misleading. I'll talk to you more about that later. The flight was very full. Koreans are flocking to Mongolia. It's only a 3-hour flight, just under 3 hours from Seoul to Ulaanbaatar. Now you can see Monique was already getting a little tired. It was after midnight, and she quickly indicated her intentions, as she often does. Now, it didn't take long for the emergency video to start playing. I was actually on an aisle for this flight, as was Monique, so I didn't get to film the takeoff. There is good power to the seat, and there's a USB port to recharge your cell phone. Now, the IFE was fascinating. They certainly had some movies, predominantly in black and white, all of them in Mongolian. The selection was minimal. There were no Western movies at all. Interestingly, what they did have was a lot of The Voice Mongolia, which actually was quite entertaining. But you don't fly Mongolian currently for their IFE. Now, I understand that's about to change. They are going to a streaming option that's coming in very soon. It was certainly promoted in the in-flight magazine, but the crew said it wasn't currently up and running. And I believe this is the same also in business class. So their IFE is a real letdown. Nor could I get the navigation, the flight path system to work, which was a little frustrating. Although the line at the bottom of the screen did update the sector time and the arrival time. But overall, this is a major weakness for Mongolian Airlines, but clearly they are working on it. Now, there was no Wi-Fi, either paid or unpaid. The meal service was very quick. It was okay. I found the crew actually quite friendly and quite pleasant. Now, our trip to Mongolia is going to involve leaving Ulaanbaatar to the Molsog Sands, which is sand dunes, then into the heart of the Bagra Gazinin, and then through to the white Stupa, and then we're travelling back to Ulaanbaatar. When we arrived at Ulaanbaatar airport, we were picked up by Danister Nomad Tours, and we managed to get about 4.5, 5 hours sleep at the hostel. I filmed this gur, which is in the Danister's Nomad Tours headquarters. I thought it was pretty cool. Now, we had our own driver, our vehicle obviously, and a tour guide. We picked up some provisions, and then we hit the road. For each of the 3 days, the routine was pretty much the same. There were long drives, and the scenery was frankly just breathtaking. We didn't see a paved road for a couple of days once we got off the highway, and I don't know how the driver actually knew exactly where he was heading at times, but it was just stunningly beautiful. We arrived late in the day at the Mulsog sand dunes. Quite a spiritual place as the sun began to go down. We went for a wonderful walk and then enjoyed a camel ride before heading to our accommodation, where we were welcomed with milk tea and our evening meal, which was very simple: rice and mutton with potatoes. Really, if you're a vegetarian, you're going to struggle. The gur was spectacular.
Our gur for the night.
Cool.
That's everything, including a skylight.
Wow, really?
It does. Come and have a look. Don't mind, the house cleaner hasn't been through.
Apparently you've got to lower your head a little.
Yes, duck.
Wow. Cool. So it's just you and I in here tonight?
Just the two of us.
Excellent. You can see there's a sophisticated power system, which is great.
And the skylight is operated by, I think, what was left of an engine.
Wow.
But you do have power.
You can't ask for more than that, so we can look at the stars. So you're sleeping there, you put out your sleeping bag, great.
Day one in Mongolia, it has been everything that I was hoping it would be, or that we were hoping that it would be. We arrived very early this morning at 3:30. Our taxi driver was waiting for us and drove us into town. Where we stayed was beautiful, very simple, super simple. Things that we discovered is you can't get Mongolian Turk outside of the country, but it was really easy for us to get it at the ATM. Was a breeze. It's about 3,400 Turk to the US dollar, and it's controlled by the government, so that's pretty much what it is. People were telling us you need to bring toilet paper. Don't skimp on the toilet paper. You definitely need toilet paper. Today we drove from Ulaanbaatar to the Bayan Gobi, and we had a wonderful day. We got to see some Presnitsky wild horses, the only wild horses in all of the world. And we got to what is a bit of the Gobi Desert, had a bit of a camel ride, a bit of a truck up the sand dunes, a beautiful dinner tonight in one of the gurs. Interesting fact, gur is Mongolian, yurt is how the Russians call it. Who knew? So we're off to have a good sleep. We actually have opportunity to have a shower and toilets in a converted bus. So we're going to say goodnight and we'll see you tomorrow.
Every New Zealander knows that sound. It's actually a mixture of sheep and goats in there. There was a bit of rain overnight. You can see some rain far off in the distance. Well, this is early morning day 2. It's just gone 6:45, so it's not that early. Monique's still fast asleep. I slept really well in the girt. The sheep and goats have moved on, so I'm walking up the hill, the rocks behind me, and you should actually start seeing the sheep and the herd behind me. And so I'm heading up to those rocks. You just get an amazing feel for the scale of Mongolia, don't you? There's our camp from last night behind me. Monique's still very comfortably asleep. So let's go find these, let's go discover these rocks and see what's up there. Stunning views, lots of vegetation for the nomadic herdsmen and their flocks. I think it's time to head back and get breakfast. Morning, this is our breakfast.
It is. It's an omelette wrapped piece of bread.
In a gur.
And look at the view.
pretty tremendous.
It is. And
Cheers.
our tea.
And our tea.
Cheers.
We had another long day in the car driving, but the scenery kept changing, and the mix of eagles, gigantic vultures, and other wildlife was simply captivating. The terrain is so suited to the nomadic lifestyle. Interestingly, over 30% of the 3.3 million inhabitants of Mongolia still live a nomadic lifestyle. We frequently ran into herds of sheep and goats and worked our way around them. But don't be fooled by the scenery. In winter the conditions are incredibly harsh, can get to -40, and in fact in 2010 10.3 million livestock was lost, simply frozen, and in 2024 4.7 million were lost. These winters are getting harsh and more frequent. It was getting close to lunchtime, and out of nowhere a village appeared. Our driver seemed to know exactly where to go and found a single table restaurant with this amazing woman.
So we've found a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and we're having ushul, freshly made,
And it really was. We went to a couple of restaurants and they were closed, but we found this simple single table, and the chef has made it all by hand, and it is divine.
So it's a meat stuffed pastry, and we had carrot and egg salad. And you can dip your pastry in soy sauce or sriracha sauce, and actually it's really yummy. Do you agree?
I do. I have a challenge with my good friend. He has 6 and I have only 5. The girls took 3, so I'm trying to get through my 5. But I think I'm going to be up for the task.
Well, bon appétit.
As we left the village, we spotted this beautiful Buddhist temple. Apparently, about 51% of Mongolians identify as Buddhist, 40% non-religion, and 3.2 as Muslim. By late in the day, we'd reached Bagagazin, our destination. Close by the ruins of an old temple dating back to the 17th century, there is a tiny water hole that legend says the water is good for treating ocular disease. This area of Bagagazin is also known as the Stone of the Little Place. It's a fascinating series of rock formations. We also saw the most traffic we'd seen in days, as multiple vehicles approached from different areas to this amazing site. We had a wonderful evening walk through the granite canyons and caves. The rock formations reminded me of pancakes laid on top of each other. It was just a beautiful, serene area to spend an hour or so. The highest elevation in the area is 1,768 metres above sea level, surrounded by flat topography of volcanic sedimentary complex. It's at least 298 million years ago that it was formed. Put simply, it's pretty old rock. It had been an amazing day. Our driver had said we were still some distance from our accommodation for the night, but that he said he'd had a shortcut. Now, I'm always up for an adventure, and if someone suggests there's a shortcut, I'm keen to try it. I must confess I didn't quite understand that we were basically going to drive up the side of a canyon and over the top. But that's basically what we did. It was about this time I decided we had a very good driver, and I was also very glad of the quality of vehicle we were in. Monique and I decided that once we got to our next overnight camping site that we would go for a lovely evening walk before dinner. The shortcut enabled us to do that. The days are very long, and so it won't get dark till well after 10.
This is traditional milk tea.
So we finished day 2, and another lovely welcome.
Beautiful welcome, and it's a really lovely girl.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Like
It's
lounge,
three components. There's the kitchen, the lounge. Yeah, it's really lovely.
Trying to refrain from the old pluck.
What are you wanting to do?
Pluck.
Hey, you could do with a bit of grooming.
Yes.
We went for a casual walk very close to our camp area and met these magnificent horses. Of course, I tried to use my best horse approach. Hi. Hi, horses. Hi. You've got a magnificent mane. Look at the second one from the left. These walks simply are unbelievable. I was getting hungry. It was time for dinner, then off to bed. So anybody wondering what the normal routine is each morning on these trips into Mongolia, it's pretty much you're allocated a breakfast time. And then you do your ablutions. Each of these overnight campsites have usually a toilet block. In this case, last night it was a bus. Today it's a 40-foot container. And you can get your teeth cleaned at this one location here. There's some water. And then we're waiting for our breakfast time, which will happen over at the main. What will happen over there, Fluffy?
Breakfast at the main.
Breakfast. And what sort of breakfast will we have?
Oh, good question. Probably toast wrapped in egg and some rice thing.
Excellent.
And milk tea.
Milk tea?
Which is really just milk with hot water and maybe a dunk of tea bag.
Yeah. I'm not overly keen on it, but Monique's enjoying it. I'm missing my coffee. Anyway.
Oh, kill for coffee. Kill for coffee.
That's our morning routine. This morning's breakfast was mostly toast and a little pastry and some sausage. The driver and our tour guide joins us each morning for breakfast, and we discuss the day ahead. Today should be a fascinating day. We're going to end up at the White Stupa. However, the first stop of the day came very quickly after we ran into a large flock of sheep and goats. The farmer with his wife and children were dagging some of the herd. They had ran a small pump to help pump water from a well. Now, dagging is crutching or removing basically crap from around the rear end of the sheep. They were very welcoming, and before we knew it, they were offering to milk a goat, and we were participating in some general farming duties. They were so welcoming. The green paint on the horns of the goats simply identify those goats belonging to the herd. The milking process does look a little rough and tumble, but it's just part of the day-to-day life. It was a wonderful encounter, and the farmer had basically thrown a kid into Monique's arms, a baby goat, and it was going to take some negotiations to convince Monique to leave it behind. It was time to carry on. The desert was waiting. You definitely knew you were now in the Gobi. it was just endless sand, and the animals changed. Suddenly there was no longer sheep and goat herds, but there were herds of camels wandering aimlessly. Occasionally we'd see cattle, but very infrequently. Rain was on the horizon and the wind was beginning to pick up. A camel here also had a local mark on its side identifying it to a particular owner. It's a barren place. Welcome to the White Stupa. Once the floor of the ocean, the scarp looks like a white stupa, hence the name. The scarp is 400 meters long and 60 meters tall with a 90-degree brink. After rain, the water pouring down the scarp makes it look like huge waterfalls. The white stupa are limestone rocks that are up to 50 meters tall, and the area is over 400 meters wide. This unique shaped rocks were caused by natural erosion by wind and water over thousands of years, with the different colors of the rocks representing different time periods. The white stupa is anything but white. It's definitely a misnomer. It is, however, breathtakingly beautiful. Formed by Mother Nature's awesome power, this place grabs your attention and reminds you how small you are. The wind that has helped shape the spectacular landform is picking up. I'm feeling like I'm being exfoliated by the Gobi desert. It's time to head for shelter. The rain is on the horizon. Mother Nature at its awesome best. Our gear for the last night. I'll give you a quick look inside. Monique's chatting about the experience today after being in the Gobi.
Being sandblasted in the Gobi. Sandblast.
Time for one more evening walk in this amazing part of the world. Camels wandering through the harshness of the middle Gobi desert. The camel has succumbed. It is an unforgiving, although spectacularly beautiful place. It is the ruggedness of Mongolia. Nearby, distant family members are continuing to eat their grass. A new gear including solar panels. Yeah, they are aluminium doors with the obligatory camel in the background. And you know, that storm we were encountering, of course that's it there, it's moved on from this ridge in the space of a few minutes. So our dinner for the last night is meat dumplings, absolutely superb. Yeah. And one last night's sleep in the Gobi. Well, it's very early in the morning. Well, actually not that early. It's now coming up to about 5 minutes to 6 local time. Welcome to the middle of Mongolia.
I've been walking for 45 minutes from our camp. I've taken a direction of 270 and so I'm going west, and so I'll make sure I've got my compass to go east to get home. I'm looking forward to breakfast. But my gosh, it's a magnificent, rugged, undulating. You can see some of the sort of dunes and rises behind me. And a rather pesty but welcomed bright friend. Good morning, Mongolia.
Our last breakfast before hitting the road back to Ulaanbaatar. Definitely the best breakfast. Cucumber, tomato, sausage, boiled eggs and coffee. Woohoo! Definitely the best spread.
Hi, so we are in Stupa Square in Ulaanbaatar. Behind us you can see the Parliament building with Genghis Khan as the center and the hero of Mongolia. It is a beautiful day. We've just finished 4 unbelievable, unforgettable days in the middle Gobi, and can't say enough. I'll let Ewan tell you all about how we got here, the things you need to know about booking tours, and yeah, he can do that, and I'll give you some more tips after he's done his bit.
Sure. Well, look, I think on reflection we would describe Mongolia as spectacular, awesome, and a must visit. Now, you wouldn't come to Ulaanbaatar as a destination. It's just a middle-sized city that's terribly congested, and getting around is a nightmare in the traffic. But it is the gateway to what is a spectacular country. And let's not forget, it's huge. And so if you're doing a lot of long distance travel, you're going to travel all day to see sites, and then you'll travel all day the next day to see the next sites.
Basically think everything is far, far away, and you're going to be prepared to drive, but the reality is the scenery is breathtaking and ever-changing, so you're not going to get bored. But if you have to be aware that you will be driving for a long time.
Yeah, and look, you know, you could do Mongolia on your own, rent your own car, but to be honest, I wouldn't recommend it because it's not particularly cost effective. It's just as cost effective to rent a car and to get a guide, and it just makes it a whole lot more comfortable and enjoyable. And look, the routine is pretty much the same every day. So we booked a 3-night, 4-day tour, and if you booked an 8-night, 9-day, or if you booked a 21-night, 22-day tour, it will be the same routine. A lot of driving during the day, early starts from between 6 to 8 in the morning. The packages always include, obviously, your accommodation, which is usually in a ger. They include your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. Most of the gers have hot showers. Don't forget to bring your little towel.
Yes, and soap.
And your soap.
And your soap, yeah.
And you must bring your travelling towel. I forgot to bring ours, so the cross next to my name for that.
Yes.
I can't wait to have a shower. I haven't had one for 4 and a bit days.
We got here, first thing I did was I jumped into the shower. But you know, things you need to remember is definitely bring water, hydrate, although your tour operator will have water. It is a country where you need to BYOTP, bring your own toilet paper. It doesn't matter where you are, even in the gers and the accommodation, you need to bring your own toilet paper.
And bring a little torch, I think is really helpful.
Yes.
Because the toilet facilities are outside the ger, and so you'll have to walk to them. Most of them are long drops, some of them are flush.
Toilet paper in the bin, not the toilet.
Yep. The meals are simple, but they are predominantly meat. So if you're a vegetarian, sorry.
Yeah. And it's meat and it's fried.
Yeah, or boiled in soups.
Or boiled, yes.
And look, what takes my breath away is just the awe-inspiring scenery. And it's hard to describe. You would have seen it in the video. We've tried to capture it and articulate it, but you really just have to experience it yourself.
It doesn't do it justice until you're actually here.
Yeah.
It's very humbling. Yeah, it was beautiful, would definitely come. The people are beautiful, they're very warm and welcoming, but it is a difficult place to sort of find tours and how to get here. I know that we certainly scoured for things. We only had a limited amount of time, but Ewan did a great job at. And
we'll put a link to the tour company we used. It cost us $480 each for the 3 nights, 4 days. That's all of our accommodation, a private guide, a private vehicle, entry fees to all the national parks, food. So it's all inclusive. Talking about food, coffee isn't easily available.
I really miss my coffee.
So bring the little coffee sachets, because you can always get hot water. They'll always offer you the milk tea, but they'll also always have hot water, and just make yourself your own instant, which is really worthwhile.
Yeah, I was getting a bit growly because I hadn't had my coffee for a few days.
Yep.
And we found a place that had coffee, which was a highlight. And then we
nearly
realized,
killed us because the caps didn't fit the cups, and
yeah,
we were in the car and we spilled it everywhere. Look, Mongolia visit, we loved it. It's travel. It's not a luxurious holiday, but it will not let you down. Mongolia, go see it.
Yeah, it is in its tourism is in its infancy here, and there aren't that many places where they're still really not harassed by tourism. So you really get the feel of the country, the people, the customs, and whatnot. So as Ewan said, come and visit. It is a must.
Watch the next video, out soon.
Please like and subscribe and tick the notification button.